Hey everyone, this is Drew from the Top Cut, bringing you top 32 action from the Indiana Regional. On the left, we're going to see AJ Deloye, an old school Michigan player, face off against our very own Kyle Sucevich, who is on the right. Now we're going to see two Typhlosion decks square off. And actually before this game, Kyle mulliganed. I cut out about 4 minutes of announcements where the players were just sitting there waiting to get started. But Kyle got to go first, which is a huge advantage in the mirror match. The first blue flare is critical and oftentimes seals you the game. Now, at Kyle's request, I've included a little blue flare counter for you guys. Make things a little funner and what is otherwise a pretty boring matchup. So Kyle had a collector, which is big going first, allows him to get set up if his hand is any good at all. Alright, so we see he gets a Vulpix, a Cyndaquil, and a Reshiram, which indicates to me a pretty strong hand. Unless he has a Clef in his hand to eke, which is probably pretty unlikely. And he does indeed pass. So I'm looking for a big turn 2 out of Kyle next turn. He probably has the means to get a Ninetales. Alright, so we're going to see AJ has a collector as well, which means we're going to see a pretty long game here, I think, folks. We see that AJ does have Cyndaquils and Vulpixes in his deck. Both players play Ninetales in their Typhlosion decks to help out with draw. AJ's line is only a 1-1, I believe, whereas Kyle plays a 2-2. Interestingly, AJ grabs 2 Cyndaquils and a Reshiram, and we did see the Vulpix in his deck, so Ninetales is probably prized. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it is indeed prized, which is the downside of running a 1-1 line. I ran a 1-1 line at Worlds myself, and this happened to me 4 out of 7 matches. Some part of that line was prized. Alright, so AJ attaches and passes it back. And we're going to see Kyle does indeed have a communication, sending his Tech Carnivine, which is in the deck for Trainer Lock, back into the deck. It's absolutely useless in this match, so he gets rid of it. We're going to see him play a plus power before the Juniper. It's really probably irrelevant. I don't see him being able to get a KO on anything this turn, but the 10 extra damage may come into play. Alright, so 10 new cards later, we'll see what Kyle has. I definitely see a Quilava in his hand. I think I saw a Rare Candy as well. And a Communication looks like another, yep. So we're going to see turn 2 Typhlosion out of Kyle. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to KO this Cyndaquil, but he's definitely going to be able to apply some early pressure here. He's going to be able to save his Cyndaquil from getting knocked out by a potential great start from AJ. And he actually did only 20. He forgot about his plus power. I don't think that's going to come into play at all, though. AJ opens up his turn with the Communication, so we're probably going to see a Typhlosion out of him as well. His hand was actually pretty abysmal. I would have considered grabbing a Cleffa instead of a Reshiram last turn if I was AJ. He top decked that Juniper, which is pretty much life-saving for him. All he had was 2 fire and a catcher left after the Typhlosion, so he actually had nothing in his hand before the top deck. And he's going to go ahead and catcher this Typhlosion before Junipering. He was obviously not going to waste the catcher. I think I would have grabbed either the Cyndaquil or the Ninetales though if I was him. His goal right here is to stall a turn, maybe make Kyle miss a blue flare, but the odds of that are actually kind of low. You're going to say, oh, this Typhlosion has no energy on it, but Kyle's Reshiram already has 2 energy, so if he gets another Typhlosion on next turn, he will be blue flaring anyways, and it'll just be a slight hindrance for him to retreat the Typhlosion. And it won't get stuck at all, he won't miss a turn. So I would like to see the Cyndaquil come active. If AJ happens to draw good off the Juniper, which is what he did, he got out of the second Typhlosion, he can actually Blue Flare and knock out that Cyndaquil. It hurts Kyle a little bit, sets him back a turn, and more importantly, AJ takes the first prize, which is huge in this match. If he gets a KO this turn, that's huge. You rarely see that from the person going second in the Typhlosion mirror. And we're going to see he does have to do 120 to this Typhlosion, and that 120 is pretty much wasted to me. He's not going to have to burn twice to his Typhlosion, knocking it out. There's no scenario where that comes into play. Maybe if he wanted the black belt at some point, but that's never going to happen. Alright, so we're going to see Kyle. It looks like he does have the means to get out of second Typhlosion, which is not surprising since he's been roast revealing for a few turns. He Junipered into that hand. I would have been very surprised to not see a Typhlosion. It would have shown that his hand was horrible. Alright. Yep. Rare candies into it. So yeah, we are going to see this Typhlosion retreat, no problem. And AJ kind of whiffed on a big opportunity there. We'll see how good his hand is. He does have a Oak's New Theory in his hand, so he's gonna be able to. I don't like this Typhlosion. Well, he thinks about switching to the Cyndaquil, which is the right play in my mind, but he brought the Typhlosion first, so he sends that up. And he top techs another Juniper there, so he's running pretty hot. Now, setting up this Typhlosion, to me, it's not going to help you. You want to set up the Cyndaquil and have the option, if you draw into another Reshiram, to retreat and hopefully Blue Flare. If he had drawn extremely well off that Juniper, got out a third Typhlosion, he could have actually Blue Flared this turn again. But now this Typhlosion is kind of stuck active. And to compound the problem a little bit, he actually puts 20 damage on the Typhlosion, which is gonna let Kyle take another prize. Whereas AJ is not getting a prize out of that. We saw he had a Junk Arm in his hand. I might have liked to see a Junk Arm for a catcher, KO that Cyndaquil. Taking prizes is very important in this game, and going down 2 is almost insurmountable odds to come back. So Kyle had the Juniper there as well. It's not as important for him to get going. He obviously has a fully set up field. He's just digging for Reshrams. He only plays 3, so he needs to get them into play. He doesn't want to whiff a turn. Alright, so we're going to see 2 Afterburners here. And he doesn't even have to Blue Flare this turn. He could have outraged a slight misplay. I believe that Reshiram has 100 on it. But whatever. Alright, we're going to see a Sage out of AJ. I think I saw a rare candy in there. He discards a rare candy and at least a communication. His discard pile is off the screen, sadly, so I can't really tell what's going on sometimes. And he's gonna get another Typhlosion out. But again, with the problem last turn, he did the same thing. He sent up a Typhlosion again, which is not gonna get the job done for him. 70 damage a turn is not Blue Flare. He will get a prize this turn, but it's just too little too late for me. He's putting his Typhlosion at 20 damage again with Afterburners, which means Kyle's just going to get another KO on Typhlosion. Kyle loves killing these Typhlosions. That's one less Afterburner AJ gets. Oh. And that Ninetales was indeed prized. We see AJ finally sees it. And there is the third Typhlosion. Kyle actually got it off from his prizes last turn. And there is, to me, no way AJ wins this game. Kyle would have to do something ridiculously bad in order to mess this up. He has full board control, 2 Rush Rams in play, ready to go. The only scenario I would see him whiffing is if AJ went off next turn, which we know is not going to happen. He's already lost 1 Typhlosion. He's going to get this one back, but the energy attachments aren't going to work out for AJ. I expect to see him concede within the next few turns here. He's a smart player. He knows he needs to conserve time for the next game. And yeah, that's what he does. So, I don't know if AJ could have won that game. It didn't seem like he would have drawn anything. I don't think he would have gotten a Rush Ram out the turn. He promoted the Typhlosion, but he did have that catcher prize with the junk arms. The way he played it, it's just hard to tell. So we see Kyle take game 1, and I will be right back with game 2 for you folks.